More than 600 intern nurses in the Eastern Cape were left desperate and without employment after their contracts were not renewed by the Provincial Health Department, and that was during the peak, if you like, of the second wave of COVID-19 infections. One of the interns spoke to us here on the AM report after she took to social media to share her plight and that of her colleagues. Since that incident, there have been some positive developments. I'll let her do the talking. Let's bring in professional nurse Newzroom Afrika. She's live to us now from Bisho. Newzroom, thanks for agreeing to speak to us once again here on the AM report. I remember your social media post so vividly. It was an emotionally charged plea in some respects. We got you onto our program here alongside with the health department. They made a few promises. What happened after that?
I remember on that week, they were said to be having a lot of meetings, and then in the course of that week, a media statement was released from the office of the Premier saying that they have decided to employ the 625 nurses, and we are to assume duties on the 8th of February. That was the following week on a Monday. So we were called by our HR institutions and informed that we are to come on Monday and sign our appointment letters. And some of us, when we did come, we were told that they were at the district office, and then we signed them on Tuesday. And we were offered permanent employment by the department.
Sure. And this essentially means that all 625 nurses are now back at their posts doing what they need to do, in part to fight the pandemic.
Yes, we are back at work. We've been working from the 8th of February to date. And I believe some of us, they'll be signing their contracts today, because we did not start on the same month. Some did start in March, and the contract is for 12 months. So they were finishing their 12 months on the 28th of February. So on the 1st of March, I believe they were set to sign their appointment letters.
Yeah, this is undoubtedly great news, but it's sad that it took what it took to get us here.
It's very sad. It's very sad because it showed us that as professional nurses in the department, we are not really valued. Because had we sat and not done anything, we would be at home right now. So it's really sad that it took us going to their offices and, voicing our concerns there and being all over social media and the news and the papers for them to pay attention and to realize that actually the department does not need to lay off these nurses at such a time.
Part of what you had mentioned in that emotionally charged social media post, Nomvo, is how you were, sort of called to order for even mentioning the difficulties that you were facing whilst working in some of the wards in the Eastern Cape. I mean, you had detailed really impassionately how there were moments where you were alone tendering to about, I think it was 11 very ill people. Yeah. And, you were then called in for sort of hanging the dirty laundry of the province. Do you feel there's a target on your back now that you've spoken out the way you have?
Some people have said so, but I don't necessarily feel so, because at the end of the day, I was telling the truth. So if, they would want to come after me for that, I was telling the truth. There's a register for that day, for that ward that I was allocated in. And I am someone who really loves my job. I go to work every day that I'm supposed to go to work. I do what I'm supposed to do. So if anyone would be on my back for something, then they would not find me in the wrong, because I do what I need to do. I have now been allocated to work in theatre since coming back on the 8th of February. I am working there. I am doing what is expected of me. I love my job. So if anyone would have to go after me to find me in wrongdoing, then I think it would just be a mistake that anyone can do, but I would not purposefully do anything that would jeopardize my job or that would put a patient's life at stake. I took an oath, and I stand by the oath that I took to become a professional nurse. I respect it very well, and I respect the profession.
Right. The moment, though, did expose other structural issues. For one, you should have never been in a position where you were alone to tender to all those patients. Yes, nurses are now able to go back to their post, but do you feel that those other issues that were raised in the backdrop have also received the necessary attention?
No, because short staffing of nurses has always been there. It was there when I was a student, and because when we are students, we are allocated to the clinics and the hospitals. We could see that our institutions are short-staffed because even at that time, as a student, you're supposed to work under supervision, but sometimes you would find yourself working alone because there is actually no nurse to supervise you. So you would actually be stationed to work alone at your own discretion. And if you are stuck somewhere, then you would have to, make the patient wait, go and ask the sister in charge that this is the problem that I'm having. What am I supposed to do? And even now, there were people who were employed under contracts for COVID-19. Their contract is expiring at the end of March. There are no plans to extend it, yet we are being short-staffed. So I don't feel that the government is addressing the issue of short staffing because, as you know, there are other nurses who actually passed away due to COVID-19. And instead of now advertising those posts and employing people in those posts, they are terminating the contracts of those they employed for COVID-19. So we will again be faced with a mass shortage because it's there, it's been there. So I don't feel that there is something that is being done about it.
Yeah, and Nombu, let's say the health minister is listening to our conversation right now. What do you think he needs to know about what you're facing on the ground, so to speak, in the Eastern Cape?
I read an article last week that the new MEC visited one of the hospitals in East London, and then he was informed there that 19 nurses had passed away due to COVID-19, and also he witnessed for himself the dire shortage of staff in that hospital, and he actually promised to do something about it. So I would like him to know that it's not something unique to that hospital. It is something that is all over in our hospitals in the Eastern Cape and even in some clinics. So if he's looking to address the staff shortage, he should not look at one institution, but all the institutions in the Eastern Cape. Because, for example, you would find that in a shift, there is one professional nurse. So if that professional nurse is sick for that day or has a problem, then who is going to be working in that ward? So there is dire shortage in all our institutions, and therefore the new MEC with the people that he's working with, they should look at this in all the institutions in the Eastern Cape. Because apart from COVID-19, there are still some other sicknesses, and, people deserve the best service delivery. People deserve the best healthcare system.
Yeah, it's so incredibly important during these moments to have some kind of solidarity as workers, so to speak. But not everybody actually agreed with the approach you took when raising these issues to begin with.
Yes, some people felt that because most of us, we are young people, so some of the old nurses felt that we were being radical and we were not... we did not address the issue well. And some people, when they went back to their institutions, they actually got an earful about striking and everything. So for me, I think it's an issue that the old nurses, they are used to being submissive and accepting any kind of treatment from government. Because as I've been saying, the institutions have been short-staffed a long time ago. And they've been complaining in their corners and not bringing this to the attention of the government. And there are so many litigations against the Eastern Cape government, and some of them are due to this shortage because people are overworked. And they are complaining in their corners, they never take it to light, and they're always depending on the unions to stand up for them, and when the unions don't, they just keep quiet and they work under those conditions. So when we actually stood up and without the unions, we went there and we spoke out for ourselves, they felt that we were being radical and what we did was not good. But at the end of the day, we did not infringe on anybody's rights. because we did not close up any clinics or hospitals, limiting people to accessing those places. We went to the department's offices, and even when we were there, we did not vandalize anything or threaten anyone. We were just there and we voiced our concerns. So we did not break the law. We did not infringe on anybody's rights. So personally, I feel that what we did was not wrong.
Typically, many people feel that the leadership is responsible for some of the problems that any set-up entity, whether it's a health department or a company, and they feel that, if you change the leadership, things might change. We know Cindy Sokomba has now been let off very quickly. Do you feel this will, I guess, usher in a moment of change for the situation you're facing?
Okay. I believe that when someone assumes a new post, they are inspired to, make an impact, leave a footprint, and kind of, let the people have a positive outlook about who they are. So I am also hopeful that the new MEC coming in will try to do positive things, like the visits that he did to that hospital in East London. That was a good thing. So I believe that even like at the time that he's coming in with all the problems that are there, so I believe he's going to try to prove himself to be a better party, and he's going to actually really try, improve the situation. I really hope that he does, because as healthcare workers, working under the conditions that we are working in, being short-staffed and everything, is going to actually bring more litigation, and because people are working under very stressful conditions, and being short-staffed is really not a good thing.
Yeah, well, Nomvu, I'm glad that you've won part of this battle. If what you've said is anything to go by, there's still a long way ahead, but one step at a time, right? Thanks very much for coming through and for sharing your experience with us. Nomvu Makata is an employed professional nurse in the Eastern Cape who's been quite vocal about some of the issues they've been facing, including a moment where over 600 nurses were laid off at short notice during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic.